choose to continue, do so knowing this content is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. We've had a good weekend or week so far. Everybody make it through the storms okay. In Alabama, where I am, we had some storms that I know of, nothing terrible. Hopefully it stays that way. What's up, Katie Hall? So we're going to talk a lot about the Amy Eskridge, which is one of the other scientists that was working out of Huntsville, Alabama, that allegedly took her own life in 2022. And we talked about it a little bit Monday night. We're going to talk a little more in depth about that tonight. And if anybody has any other updated information on the missing scientist at all, feel free to bring that up. And we will also I definitely want to talk a little about the ramp tonight, which is the ministry, or the cult disguised as a ministry based out of Hamilton, Alabama, but also has campuses in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the UK. Still fully up and operating, and a lot of victims, members, and unfortunately, more than likely, children still getting harmed there. We currently have like 3 really big cases that we're investigating. And so some of us have been putting in a lot of hours, and we'll be continuing to. In other words, if new big things come up, I don't know that I will be up to date on them because we're all caught up in these. But they all of them are obviously extremely important and need a lot of awareness brought to them. Oh, I got to turn on the lamp. See, I kept forgetting, and y'all kept calling me out on it, so I put a sticker up on one of my monitors, and I just saw the sticker. So it worked. Nashville, one of my favorite cities. But we'll jump right on into the Amy Eskridge case. And obviously, most of you know, if not all of you, you know what Huntsville, Alabama is known for. It's the Rocket City, literally, is what it's known for. And it's even become bigger, much bigger in that world lately, with the Space Command moving. I don't know if they've moved there, or I know they're going to. But anyway, a huge area that is highly, highly involved in space exploration, along with a lot of other Department of War projects with Redstone Arsenal and a lot of the private government contractors up there. So anyway, I mean, tons of scientists and researchers in that area. And we talked about Joshua LeBlanc on Monday night, and he was a scientist there working out of Huntsville, and mysteriously lost his life allegedly in a car crash that ended up in Walker County, Alabama, of all places. And so tonight we're going to focus more on, as I said, Amy Eskridge. And she was a brilliant young scientist, an amazing, extremely intelligent person. And had created her own company and was researching stuff that most people could not even dream of, is how I've read it from some experts. She pushed the frontiers of physics. And again, until her allegedly taking her own life in 2022. That was officially ruled as that at the time. But her warnings prior to that tell a different story. And it is, a lot of this stuff is going to give you chill bumps, because some of this stuff is so just crazy. But Amy, unlike LeBlanc, who was not originally from Alabama, I believe he was originally from Louisiana. Amy was actually born and raised in Huntsville, Alabama. And her father was actually a scientist for NASA as well. Hold on just a second. But she was a propulsion researcher, among other things, and plasma physicist for NASA at the Marshall Space Flight Center there in Huntsville. She double majored in college in chemistry and biology, and apparently got a master's in electrical engineering, physics, and some in electrical engineering and physics. So again, we're talking about an extremely highly intelligent person. She co-founded the Institute for Exotic Science, which was in Huntsville. And that institute focused on gravity modification, advanced propulsion. And if you remember, advanced propulsion was one of Joshua LeBlanc's main things that he worked on. And she also worked on anti-gravity technologies. And so a lot of her work was apparently aimed at developing public-facing versions of exotic tech that could literally revolutionize space travel, potentially bypassing traditional rocketry by controlling gravitational fields. Now, that stuff is way over my head. That's probably some of yours, but not so much where you can't understand this was highly sensitive, extremely valuable information that she worked on. One thing that she was doing is she and her team sought to bridge classified defense research with open science and wanted to make Huntsville's role as a potential hub for major disclosures. So what I get from that is she was talking about disclosing things that were previously classified, which we obviously all probably understand that could be dangerous. And Amy herself believed her work made her a big target. She claimed she was being harassed by directed energy weapons, possibly linked to testing at Redstone Arsenal or private contractors. She reported burn marks on her hands, phone hacking, surveillance, death threats from U.S. contractors, and attempts to drive her to taking her own life or luring her into danger. Now, again, remember, we're not talking about just some crazy person. We're talking about a highly, highly intelligent, very successful woman. That should give credit to at least some of the things she was saying, because she was still functioning, running her entire company and doing all of this, top research on these technologies that not many people even understood. She also spoke a lot about ultra terrestrials, advanced programs, and pressure tied to her research on gravity manipulations. Technologies that she continued to say could connect to larger UAP or UFO, whatever you want to call them, related breakthroughs. Now, here's where it gets really crazy with Amy. About 1 month prior to her losing her life, on May the 13th, 2022, she sent text messages to contacts, including a former British intelligence officer and paratrooper, Frank Milburn. Now, here is the exact wording from that text message. If you see any report that I took my own life, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I overdosed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I took someone else's life, I definitely did not. In another message to Milburn, she wrote, "Everything's fine, Frank. I'm feeling okay. If anything happens to me, taking my own life or an accident, it wasn't. It's suspicious and treat it as such." She also shared photos of the alleged burn marks on her hands from what she described as the directed energy attacks, mentioning a former CIA contact who had seen them. Milburn himself has stated that he spoke with her just hours before her death, and she sounded completely normal. And that was, as I said, that was May the 13th, 2022. On June the 11th of 2022, Amy Eskridge, at the age of 34, was found in Huntsville from a alleged single self-inflicted shot wound to the head. The case was quickly closed by local police and the Madison County coroner, and she was cremated. Now, another strange part to this story is with a lot of her friends and some of her family all stating Amy did not do this to herself. She specifically told us that if something like this happened, look into it. Her father, who also, as I said earlier, happened to be a NASA scientist himself, is one that is adamant that she absolutely did it to herself and there's nothing suspicious about it. If my, daughter, friend, anybody that I knew personally sent a text message like that a month before she was found, there's no way I could ever say, hey, this is not suspicious. There's no way I could say that. So for her father, of all people, to, from the very beginning, be very adamant about there's nothing suspicious about this, move on, that's strange. Very strange. And this is complete speculation on my part, understand that. But it makes you wonder, is that because he knew what happened to her and he didn't want that opened up anymore? Again, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I don't see how you couldn't say that's not strange. For out of all the people saying these things and saying this is very suspicious, Amy was being targeted for her own father, of all people, to just be so adamant, no, nothing happened here. Nothing to see here. Because, again, one of the main sources of this information was a British intelligence officer. I would consider his information pretty reliable. I would consider him probably a pretty reliable source of information. He also produced those text messages and showed them. So we actually had them. Amy herself. Is it possible that towards the end she spiraled out of control and was having some mental issues? Well, that's always possible. But also keep in mind, we're talking about someone that at that time still held a top secret security clearance. And they will pull anyone that's familiar with it, they will pull a top secret security clearance in a split second over anything. So if they even think, if they have any evidence that you're mentally unstable, they will pull your security clearance. So if her dad, of all people, who is is the main one saying, yeah, she was highly mentally unstable, he didn't tell anybody about that. I just find that all very strange and hard to believe. Because she was still trusted with top secret information, even though her dad at that time believed she was highly mentally unstable. So one way or the other, her dad is completely wrong. If that was the case and he didn't tell anyone then he's completely in the wrong. It's even if you take out all the other missing and unalived scientists and researchers since 2022, and you just look at her case by itself, it's still highly suspicious. Now, when you put that with the rest of this pattern, with this bigger picture, it makes it even more suspicious. On top of the one that you will never convince me there was not more to it is the Joshua LeBlanc story. You will never convince me there's not more to that. Way too strange. That was not just a random innocent traffic accident where he lost his life. There's just no way. Now, as I said the other night, some of these that we're talking about, yeah, it's possible that there's nothing to them. The other one that you will not convince me of as of now, that it's not extremely suspicious and there's more to it, is the retired Major General William McCaslin, who, again, he literally worked on what experts are saying was literally the most top secret programs that this country has. And again, we're talking about a highly intelligent individual, highly successful. And then out of nowhere, he leaves his house. He just walks away from his house, leaving his cell phone, his wallet, his prescription eyeglasses. But left with a revolver. It's hard for me to believe that if he was going to go take his life, why would he not wear his prescription eyeglasses? Because according to his wife, he could hardly see without them. Like, he had to wear them all the time. I just don't buy it. But back to Eskridge, her father, whose name is Richard Eskridge, has publicly, as I said, rejected conspiracy theories, stating, and this is his statement, and he is talking about his daughter who took her own life, according to him. And this is the statement he made. Scientists die also, just like other people. That's a very strange statement to say when you're talking about your daughter. Very strange. But Amy's pre-death warnings, combined with her roots in the heart of literal classified aerospace research, and as I said, especially as her case joins the list of the other missing and unalived scientists, it is very hard for me to believe there's not more to this. Very strange. So what are y'all's thoughts on Amy's and or the other ones? I think that since she sent those text messages, and her dad says there's nothing to it. Something is wrong here. Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, also one thing I thought about when I was researching this earlier today is the government also wants us to believe that Epstein took his own life. Like, you will never convince me that happened, ever. But that's one of the best ways. I hate to say it like that. I don't know, for lack of better words, that is one of the best ways, if you want to take somebody's life, for you to do it, with the possibility of you getting away with it, is make it look like they took their own life. And as I've said, if you do that in Walker County, Alabama, you're good to go, because they literally will not investigate it at all. I mean, not to change subjects too fast here, but they tried to say Eric Cates took his own life in the beginning, when there was absolutely nothing that could point to that. Nothing. And now, obviously, we know for a fact that that's not what happened. But no one in their right mind would think that's what happened anyway, except for them. I'm in Alabama. I'm going to try to catch up on some comments right quick. Was I part of SWAT, or did I train them? I was on SWAT for a little over 5 years. I've also trained tactical classes as well. I'm in Tuscaloosa. Truthfully, to sound off about this feels a little dangerous if important scientists are dead. No, I mean, you're right. I've got more death threats than I could ever count from the stories I've covered, and it won't be the last. I'm just crazy enough not to care. Oh no, Epstein's dead. No, I would bet everything he's no longer alive. but he didn't take his own life. Way too many important people wanted him gone. There's literally zero evidence that he's still alive. Not any evidence whatsoever. Anybody that thinks he's still alive, you're simply going on feelings, and I try to take feelings out of it when I'm looking at that stuff. But as far as him taking his own life, the camera missing a little over a minute right at that time, it's not a coincidence. No, I don't think Israel had I don't think they had anything to do with it. There's one thing you will never convince me. The Clintons have been responsible for taking people's lives. Again, that's another thing. You will never convince me that's not happened at least a few times. They've had the money, they've had the power, and Hillary Clinton is an evil person. I don't think Bill Clinton is an evil person. I think he has to listen to her. But she's evil. If you crossed her, there's no doubt in my mind that if she could make it happen, she would. They are the main ones that would not have wanted Epstein alive anymore. On top of other very, very powerful people. They're not the only ones, but they're probably the most powerful ones. So it doesn't make any sense to me that he would still be alive. That doesn't make any sense. And on that same note, back to Joshua LeBlanc, I'm not saying he's still alive by any means, but I mean, it is possible because they couldn't identify his body. When it takes DFS, the Department of Forensic Science, 3 days to identify you, then there's always the possibility that that wasn't really who they thought it was. That wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world to stage. And that would make sense also with where he was found. Why was he in the middle of nowhere? Where there's no law enforcement, there's no cameras, no road cameras, there's nothing. And it would just make sense. Now, again, I'm not saying that wasn't him. I think there's just as good a possibility it was as it wasn't. But I don't think we can rule it out. But again, I do not think it was just a random traffic accident because he had absolutely no business where he was. Nothing made sense about it. He was sitting at the Huntsville airport for 4 hours just prior to that. Didn't have his wallet, didn't have his cell phone. So obviously not planning on flying anywhere. So why was he just randomly sitting at the Huntsville airport for 4 hours and then immediately left there and drives to middle of nowhere, Walker County, and hits a tree? And I want to make this clear because some people that apparently watched my video on him the other day have a very big problem of comprehension. I am, as in reference to Joshua LeBlanc, I am not saying the Walker County Sheriff's Office or Walker County law enforcement had anything to do with that. In fact, in my video, I said I don't think that at all. Because I also say in my video, that's not who investigated it. The Alabama State Troopers, is who investigated it. So the Walker County Sheriff's Office had nothing to do with that. I just wanted to make that clear because, again, there were some comments on my video that apparently some people have a big issue with comprehension, even though I thought I was pretty clear in that video. What I'm saying is suspicious about it is it just so happens he ended up in Walker County, of all places, the place with that reputation. So what I'm saying, what I believe, the reason I believe he ended up in Walker County is because of its reputation. And if you are a professional sent to take someone's life and stage it, honestly, in Alabama, what better place to go where it's not going to look as suspicious? I mean, that's the place that you would go, just simply off their reputation. Because a bunch of people end up unalive there. A bunch of people go missing there, and they're never seen again. And in relation to the law enforcement there, they don't know what they're doing. They have no clue or either the will to investigate anything. So again, if you go there and you take someone's life, the chances of you getting away with it are very high. Very high. And that's just a fact. Haley, I don't think you're thinking that statement through. Your daughter is a lot safer in Huntsville than Birmingham. I'm not downing Birmingham. I go there all the time. As far as the Birmingham area, I don't feel unsafe. There are parts of it, obviously, you don't need to go. But in general, I don't feel unsafe in Birmingham. But I would much rather my child be in Huntsville than Birmingham. Overall, Huntsville is actually a very safe place. Now, again, Birmingham is not as bad as most people think. Most people there are not from here, and it's not as bad as most people act like, but it's not the best. But, I mean, as far as towns in Alabama, cities in Alabama, Montgomery and Mobile are way more dangerous than Birmingham. Way more dangerous. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Kayla. Kayla asked, do I have any update on the guy from Arkansas? She's talking about Aaron Spencer. And there actually is a little update. Let me pull that up. But I meant to talk about that, discuss that a little bit Monday, and I'd forgotten, and I was going to forget again tonight. So thank you.
Hannah, tell my babies I said hello. Tell Anaya Caroline I said hey and I love her.
Hold on. Not meaning for that to pop up there. Bear with me. I'll find it in just a second. So his defense team has filed some more motions. And again, remember, we have a completely new judge now because the Arkansas State Supreme Court outed the other judge that was not being fair in any way whatsoever. I mean, straight up corrupt. So we have a new judge, and I've spoken to some of Aaron's close family, and they've been very excited about the new judge. They have a lot of good things to say about. They think that he's very fair and a really good judge, and so they don't have any worries of any corruption with him. So that's a good thing. But they have filed some new motions with the new judge. The dash cam recovered from the scene. So Michael Fosler had a dash camera in his truck, but the dash cam recovered from the scene had an SD card that was removed and viewed and then later lost while in law enforcement custody. That card was believed to contain video from the night of the incident. Let me tell you something. That card wasn't accidentally lost. That is not a piece of evidence that you could accidentally misplace. Because if you're the investigator on that case and you've got the actual incident on video, you're not going to accidentally lose that evidence. No way. Never happened. The new motion also points out multiple failures to follow standard evidence procedures, obviously, including not properly documenting the dash cam before removing it, removing the SD card despite training not to, failing to log and secure the SD card as separate evidence, and sending evidence in a way that could allow small items to be lost. An expert review included in the filing states the dash cam should have recorded both front and rear views and likely would have preserved critical footage automatically. Instead, that evidence is missing. his case should be dismissed just off of that. Again, you won't find any expert in the law enforcement field that would say, yeah, it was probably accidentally misplaced. No one would say that if they're being honest and they know what they're doing. Again, that's not a piece of evidence you're going to accidentally misplace. Because, again, that's going to be your top most critical evidence. I mean, that's your whole case. But the fact that more than likely that video showed what really happened, which is exactly what Aaron Spencer says happened, and not what the district attorney says happened, that's why it was misplaced. But honestly, accident or not, with that now missing, his case should be dismissed. But some other things that they filed motions on, and as far as I know, the motions haven't been ruled on yet, but they hopefully any day now. But the filing asked the court to fix key rulings and address serious issues that impact the fairness of the case, including the jury is being limited on what they can hear. Right now, testimony about Fosler's violent reputation is restricted to Lonoke County. The defense is pushing back on that. The law doesn't limit the truth to one county, and neither should this case. A key expert was kept out. The previous judge had already indicated this expert should be allowed to testify, but never entered the order. So if the previous judge said they should be, then they definitely should be. So I have full confidence that this judge is going to allow that expert to testify. Now the defense is asking the new judge to make it official so the jury hears the full context. Again, critical evidence was mishandled, which is obviously the most serious issue. But according to sworn testimony, a dash camera with potential exculpatory evidence was never properly logged. So this is saying it wasn't even properly logged. It was handled outside standard procedure. The memory card was removed and viewed without documentation. It wasn't entered into evidence for over a year. They were trying to withhold, well, and now they've succeeded in holding exculpatory evidence. And again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but I don't see how that's not grounds for dismissal. Because any investigator will tell you that is the biggest no-no. You cannot do that. You cannot hold back exculpatory evidence. You can't. And if you're not familiar with what that means, that just means evidence that could prove the suspect is innocent. Any evidence. So, for instance, if you're investigating a case and you interview 3 witnesses, and 2 witnesses say, yes, I saw the guy take the car. And then a 3rd witness says, no, I saw this other guy take the car. You can't leave that 3rd witness's statement out of the evidence to hand over to the defense. You can't do that. It's illegal, highly illegal. It's a violation of their rights. So you can't do that. It happens, unfortunately. A lot of times it happens just due to not being properly trained and inexperienced. So a lot of times when it happens, and it doesn't make it any better, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times when it happens, it wasn't purposely. The law enforcement officer didn't realize they were violating their rights when they did it. But again, that's only someone that's untrained and no experience. And that's not an excuse. But again, it does happen. But a video of the actual incident, thinking that you could get away with not turning that over, that's all out corruption. No one's going to make that mistake. No one's going to think, nah, this evidence is not important. But anyway, as far as I know, because this was filed on the 22nd of this month, as far as I know, there's not been a ruling on these motions yet, but hopefully there will be very soon. And again, my main hope, and I know his hope and his family's hope, is that they just drop this mess and dismiss this, which is, well, they should have never had to dismiss it. Charges never should have been brought against him. And he has won the primary for the sheriff there. So more than likely, he's going to be the next sheriff. So, I mean, this story is, this is a movie in the making, a good one too. Although I'm sure if they could go back and none of this had happened, they would. But Aaron Spencer is an amazing man. I mean, for him to not just crawl off in a corner and lose his mind over this is unbelievable to me. But not only did he not do that, I mean, the man jumped right back up and then decided, you know what, I'm going to run for sheriff and I'm going to change this corruption. And what better way to take out the corruption than you yourself take over? And he did that, and he's won. All while he's still on trial, awaiting for a murder charge. And don't forget, he's a combat veteran. This man's already fought for our country. But in his family's, they're amazing people. One, I've been in contact with a very close family member of his since, for over a year now, for close to a year now, and they're just amazing, and they're truly good people. It's just it's ridiculous that this ever happened. But yeah, anyway, Kayla, thanks for bringing that up because I was going to update that and I'd forgotten. But if it does end up going to trial, I will be there. But hopefully that doesn't happen. But I'll keep y'all updated. All right, back to what we're talking about. Do I think there's any connection to the Defense Munitions Proving Ground with their UFO logo? If you're asking, do I think there's any connections with it and with LeBlanc being found there in Walker County, I think that's probably a stretch. It's obviously a possibility, but I think that's probably a stretch to think that those two things were related. But I could be wrong. somebody talking about Walker County. Somebody just sent me a Facebook Marketplace listing out of Jasper that somebody posted, and they're literally selling a 10-gallon moonshine still. And they have pictures of it and everything. Oh, that's pretty funny. I'm trying to stay on subject here, but there is something else when I was going back through my messages that I was wanting to show that will. We need some funny things to show every once in a while anyway. But I saw this video earlier and it owned me. And this is the Jamel Brown. And if you're not familiar with him, he is literally running for the governor of Alabama. And it's one of those things you think is a complete joke when you look at his stuff, but he has literally registered and he is going to be on the ballot. But this he claims to be a preacher, but he says some of the nastiest, dirtiest, most vulgar things I've ever heard on the internet. He's out there. And like one of his things in his first 100 days of office, if he wins, which I mean, obviously it's not going to happen, but is to make Montgomery a strip club city. Straight from one of his campaign things. But let me pull this up right quick. Now, if you weren't looking close enough, first off, he just flags, which means he just pointed the weapon. That's obviously loaded because he's about to shoot it. He pointed the weapon at whoever's on the camera. I mean, I don't have to tell you how dangerous that is. That should never happen. That's weapon safety 101. Then I don't know what he's doing. But notice where he is hitting. He's hitting the ground about 3 foot in front of him. This is horrible shooting. Like horrible. And he is posting it like he's doing something special. But watch the ground in front of him in just a second. You see the ground? Like I said, about 3 feet in front of him is where those are hitting. I mean, this is some of the worst shooting I've ever seen in my life. And that's saying a lot because I've seen it. I mean, I've ran ranges for years. I was a small arms instructor in the Navy. I've seen it all. That's one of the worst. But he posted that today and I saw it and I got a really good chuckle out of it. But if you ever want to teach someone how to not handle a weapon, then show them that. Yeah, and it said, oh yeah, what did it say? If you missed it, it said, I'm safely practicing at a local range in Montgomery County and not engaging in any sales activity. That's a weird way to put that. I like to come out here with my legal firearms and enjoy nature at its best. Oh my goodness. And then you got to read some of the comments because most people that are commenting are talking about how horrible this is. But there's, hold on, let me find this one. Somebody said, watch out, you're going to shoot your foot off, which is true. I would not be anywhere around that guy with a weapon, anywhere close. And then this man, and I think he's being serious, comments, MPD, which I'm guessing he's talking about Montgomery police, could use you, man, for a training instructor. And I've looked at this guy's profile, and I think he's being serious. That made me laugh about as hard as the video did. But yeah, if you want to live the rest of your life, then don't be anywhere around this guy with a weapon. I'm dead serious about that. If that's an actual range, there's no way that's an actual range. There's no way any range master would let somebody do that without just immediately tackling them and pulling them off. There's no way. If they do, the whole range needs to be shut down. Oh, has that been out for a few months ago? He just posted. I mean, it just came up on his page. Yeah, yesterday. So maybe he just reposted it. Yeah, he just posted it on his page yesterday. But anyway, that was hilarious. He needs to go practice falling down next. He looks just like a Teletubby. Oh my goodness. Oh, he does too. Now that you say that, that's all I'll see from now on when I see him. I can't find it, Katie. Which page did you send it to? Hold on, both Katies are saying they sent me something. I can't find either one of them. Oh, see, I've been getting on y'all about that and say we need to use that, and I didn't even have it clicked on. That's my fault. Oh yeah, we got. All right, we're gonna watch this one and then we're gonna get back serious. I promise. We need some good laughs every once in a while. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'll get a copyright for the music, so I'll have to turn that down. Sorry. There's one of the Democrat candidates running for governor of Alabama. You can't make this. Oh, Jesus. And he's allegedly a pastor, by the way. Don't forget that. Don't y'all's preachers act like that? Okay. All right, let's get back serious. And apparently he and Chad Martin, which is one of the other Democrat candidates who I actually have interviewed on a podcast. Nice guy, super nice guy, pretty intelligent. But apparently they had an actual debate. And I've got to see if there's video of that because that's got to be the greatest of all time. No, now, in all seriousness, he claims he's a pastor, and there are videos of him preaching. I'm not making that up. I don't doubt that, Steve. I don't doubt that. We might watch another one after in a little bit, but let's get on to serious business here. So let's check up on our front porch friend and see if. Hold on. I just remembered something. I was sent another video. With another video from the ramp. Hold on. Maybe it was texted to me. Let me see. I don't know if this is crazy interesting or anything, but it was sent to me by somebody that's usually, always sending me great information on the ramp. So we're going to pull it up and see. Well, speaking of Karen Wheaton herself, she just posted a video 22 minutes ago. Aren't we lucky? It's titled Meet Me on the Old Dirt Road. I wouldn't trust that. Two people I'm not meeting on a dirt road. Nick Smith and Karen Wheaton. That's a setup all day. Let's see. Again, I don't know if this is crazy interesting, but we'll see.
Really, come on. Don't we love Mr. Winfred, Miss Lee? They're awesome. Man. The things, the stories those two could tell. Probably not fit for public consumption. All right, let's do this. Go ahead. We'll get there in a minute, but go ahead and open your Bible to 2 Kings chapter 3.
So this was posted by The Ramp
It'll take us a while
9
to
days
get
ago.
there, but we will get there. And so I want to, right at the beginning, I gotta do this because I said I would. I need my second year RML preaching lab to let me know you're in the room this morning. Not many, there's like 15 of them total. But the interesting thing about this word this morning is on Thursdays at 1 o'clock, I meet with a small group of second year RU students. And as part of their final, they have to present in 2 to 3 minutes a full sermon framework, like their main idea.
So comment does look like comments are turned on this one.
Illustrations and whatnot.
On the
to help them
under the
prepare
Ramp
for that,
Ramp Church
I knew
Hamilton.
I was preaching this morning, and I knew I was preaching from 2 Kings 3, and I had some ideas jotted down. But on Thursday, they helped me finalize this word this morning. So for those of you who are not in the class, can you just put your hands together for our second year?
So this is the new pastor. That's right, Melissa? So is this this is pretty much who replaced Samuel Bentley? I'm glad you're back, Jennifer. But yeah, so apparently this is the new pastor. I'll watch that later and see if it's worth watching or not, instead of us sitting here watching it. But I do want to watch, as bad as I hate to, but again, I have to watch them, so make y'all watch them too. Let's watch her new video. are these not in order? It's weird. I still can't get over. I've thought about 10 times of somebody that was on the live Monday night saying that Karen Wheaton was not wealthy. Like, that person must have been a billionaire to consider Karen Wheaton not wealthy. You simply drive by her property. A lot of money's going to that place. Millions. All right, here it is.
Heading toward the rock hole on the old dirt road. Last night it rained all night long. It was one of those nights where it was just thundering and lightning and oh, it was just glorious. And so the creek's up.
What?
But I love it. It's like they always say.
Not the first word that comes to my mind when it's thundering and lightning.
Well, the good Lord's willing and the creek did rise last night. So it just makes it all the more wonderful.
Miss Karen Wheaton, to be so smart, that's not what the creek don't rise. It's not a reference to an actual water creek. That was a reference to the Creek Indians. A little useless information for you all.
To be out here. Look at this mountain laurel. Oh, there is just nothing like it. I wish I could go over there across the creek and just pick you a big bouquet and send it.
You know who she reminds me of? There's an episode on Friends where, and I can't remember whose boyfriend, maybe Monica's, I can't remember. But, and I think it may be one of the bald ones playing as the actor for the character. But like, he goes around and everything is just the greatest thing ever. And like, it's extremely annoying. And he gets on their nerves so bad and they break up with him. But there's an entire episode of it. And it's just, no matter what, it's the greatest thing ever. And that's what she reminds me of, that character. Because again, the word glorious is not the first word that comes to my mind when it's thundering and lightning. Anyway.
Show you right now. You can't really see it as good as I wish you could. But, oh, just, God is amazing. You know it.
I agree with that.
When I walk down this old road, I just hear him and sense him right here with us. Makes us think of that old song. We've sung it before. It's one of our favorites. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Do you love that one as much as I do? I have this word I want to share with you as we're coming up on the rock hole. I'm going to go over here. The bench is ready.
The ramp is announcing a 2-week sabbatical in May. Is this sabbatical like it's just going to be completely closed down for 2 weeks? Oh, Melissa said that too. He says Karen is having them go on a 2-week break to break from the hard season. those kind of things that she says, and she says them on almost every video too, about how rough she has it right now and they have it right now. No, Karen, the victims, those child victims are the ones who's going through a rough time, not you. You're not a victim, nor is your cult. It pisses me off that she continues to play the victim. I don't understand how you could even pretend like you're the victim in this. Oh, so that was the significance of that video of the new preacher. Okay, I see. So in that video, he announces that they're taking a sabbatical because times are just so hard on them right now. It's called The Ramp, and it's a cult disguised as a ministry, home based out of Hamilton, Alabama. They also have a campus in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the UK. But I am so freaking tired of hearing her play the victim. And again, remember, unless I've missed it, to this day, we have not heard her speak up at all for the actual victims. Because again, she's the victim. This is the enemy, the devil. We're all the devil because we're talking about her. We're evil. No, the evil is her because she allowed the horrible abuse of God knows how many children at this point. And her son-in-law, who is now literally admitted to at least 2 victims, who she declared a prophet. That's another thing that drives me crazy. Everyone calls her Miss Karen, even grown women do. Yeah, that would probably get on my nerves too. Is she Bobby Boucher's mama? Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I know it's not funny, but we do have to laugh at this sometimes. You just have to stay sane.
And waiting on us, I can see. Come on over here. Let's get a little closer. I thought probably Palmer would be joining us any second. Let's go. Beautiful.
She is very poor, though. I mean, look at this property.
Beautiful. Can you see it? Hear the sound of the water. Nothing like it. Oh.
She literally had her own dam installed.
I just think sometimes the heavens are open over this place and angels just sort of hang out. Come on, sit down with me.
Karen, I highly doubt that's where angels hang out.
Just
Highly doubt that.
So, got a place just for you. Come on, and one for me.
Except for one fallen angel.
I want to share with you something
That's pretty well known
for both of us today. I want to tell you about something that is coming up. Oh, I would just love for you to be a part of and bring your kids. You know, every summer.
Oh my God. Did she really just say that? Well, I paused that at the right time to look at those eyes. Look at that face. That is literally the face she made right after saying, and bring your kids. Yeah, bring your kids to the place where I have allowed them to be SA'd for over 20 years and continuously swept it under the rug. And declared one of the main abusers a prophet. And he's been preaching to you all for over 10 years. All while at the same time harming children in the worst ways you could. Literally taking their innocence away from them. There is an anger inside me for her that I cannot even explain. And I think it's mainly because she is doing all of this in the name of Jesus Christ. And at the same time, literally bringing in millions and millions of dollars for her personal wealth, while her college students are starving. Okay. I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
I want to tell you about something that is coming up. Oh, I would just love for you to be a part of and bring your kids. You know,
Her body language when she said that, she knew she didn't need to be saying that. She herself was uncomfortable with that statement. Now let's watch the thing she was saying. Watch her body language before she said that, and then we'll watch it after, all while she's sitting down. And you'll tell a difference.
Come on, sit down with me. I haven't been here yet, just got here. So, got a place just for you. Come on, and one for me. Before I want to share with you something I was hearing for both of us today. I want to tell you about something that is coming up. Oh, I would just love for you to be a part of and bring your kids.
And bring your kids. She's extremely uncomfortable with that statement. You see it?
I want to share with you something I was hearing for both of us today. I want to tell you about something that is coming up. Oh, I would just love for you to be a part of and bring your kids. You know, every summer for the...
I mean, that is so telling. Watch her eyes. She's like, bring your kid. Like, wow, that's so telling.
Something I was hearing for both of us today. I want to tell you about something.
So watch your
that
eyes
is
this
coming
time.
up. Oh, I would just love for you to be a part of and bring your kids. You know, every summer for the past 25-ish years, we have the youth conferences at the ramp. There's just nothing like it.
She's very
and you know
uncomfortable
what
talking
makes the
about this whole
difference?
subject.
It's the presence of God. We have, of course, we do about between 10 and 12 conferences a year, but in the summer, this summer, we will do one in June and two in July. And it's for young people, I say young people. It's just a lot of young people that love the presence of God. So there's a lot of teenagers, you know, anywhere from the ages, 12 all the way up through into college age, like 25. But I mean, but you know what? Little children come and enjoy it. And my mother's 91, and she probably loves it more than anybody.
Who calls a 25-year-old a child? That's weird. I've never considered a 25-year-old a child in any way whatsoever.
Everybody else in the room. And I'm there, so I'm 65. So if you love the presence of God, if you love the presence of God, you will love the ramp. That's what everything focuses on, is bringing young people into his presence where they will encounter the real God.
This is so, I guess the right word is ironic. Knowing how many families have sent their children there for this stuff, to be in the presence of God. But instead, that's not what happened. Instead, their innocence was completely taken away from her by the freaking preacher. And she has the nerve to still get on here and beg for you to bring your children to her. I just... Oh, this woman.
God and find him and his purpose for their life. So if you have children, if you have teenagers, if you have college-age kids or grandchildren or the kids in the youth group at your church, you know what? I'm going to throw up a little advertisement poster thing right now. There's the dates. Look at this, really good. And I will just send you a link to it somewhere in the caption in us or the comments or somewhere after this is over. And you can go look it up and get the information and get registered. The registration is...
I think maybe that would be a good time for a protest, a peaceful protest. Let me be clear, and I truly mean that, a peaceful protest. But I think maybe June 25th would be a great time for a peaceful protest, making sure that everyone that's coming there knows that there's child predators in there. Yep, that's a plan. We'll get that worked up.
Is free. However, we do need you to register so that just that we're able to contain, who all is coming. I would just love to have you come and be a part of the conferences. And then every summer, this is where we bring them to baptize them. As you can see, Palmer's in the water, but this is where the kids come, and we will baptize usually about 500 to 600 young people at a time, right here at Williams Creek. I would love for your grandchildren or your children to be one of those. So pray about it.
I'm sure you would.
And get registered as quickly as you can. Now, oh my, here this word is. First of all, I want to show you something I found at an antique store. I love old books, especially old devotional books. And so, y'all know we've talked about it before. Streams in the Desert, Streams in the Valley, two of my all-time forever favorites. And they, some of them are kind of edited and changed, updated, modernized and all. And I guess that's okay. I just like the old ones. And I was in an antique store the other day and found this old Streams in the Desert. And y'all look at this book. It's just turning into one of my most favorite ever.
Oh my God. We got the greatest book ever here. She's killing me with this freaking fakeness too.
I loved what was written in the front. Look, where the people I bought it from, it said it was bought by Sue and Troy at a yard sale, a garage sale in 1990. It says the lady was 98 years old that had the book, and her name was Miss Whitlock. And there's her sweet little handwriting, and she has her notes all in this little book. I'm sure she's with the Lord now in heaven, and now then I have just this little treasure chest of her devotionals. And so it's just, love it, love it, love it. This morning I was in this book, as I often am, and I was reading today's devotion, And it was such a word for you and me. I was like, Lord, thank you for this word. And it's talking about, it's right out of basically the story of 1 Kings chapter, I believe it's chapter 18, verses like 41, somewhere in there. It's where Elijah has just gone to Mount Carmel. He's called fire down from heaven. And then he says something after he's called fire down from heaven and killed the prophets of Baal. He says something to his servant that matters to you and me. He says, I hear the sound of an abundance of rain. Now, you know why I love that? Because Elijah had prophesied to the heavens, and because of Israel's sin, Ahab's sin, and Jezebel, closed up the heavens. And there had been a severe drought in Israel now for 3 years. And Elijah told Ahab, it's not going to rain again until I say so. Well, this is so incredible. So here they are. They've just finished this showdown on Mount Carmel. And Elijah is like, tells his servant, I hear the sound of an abundance of rain. Now, it wasn't raining. There wasn't even a cloud in the sky. But he could hear something in the spirit realm. Elijah was hearing something God was wanting to do. God was communicating with his prophet, just like he will for you and me. And God was telling Elijah, it's time for it to rain. It's time for the rain, Elijah. I want it to rain. So Elijah has an ear to hear, watch, what the Spirit is saying. Elijah has an ear to hear. Oh, sweet friend, I want you and me to pray more and more. Increase
Too bad
prayer.
Karen Wheaton doesn't have that
You
ear.
as an intercessor and as a front porch friend intercessor, begin to pray this week, starting today. Lord, increase my hearing. Give me an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying. Elijah could hear it. Oh, I hear rain. My God is wanting it to rain. So Elijah, you know what he did? He didn't just say, well, isn't that wonderful? God's wanting it to rain. I'm going to go home and get some good rest, take care of things. No. As soon as he finds out God is wanting to do it, what does he do? He climbs the mountain and he begins to pray in what he heard. Faith comes by hearing a word. Faith comes by hearing. So Elijah had heard and he had faith to know. You know what? You can't just say, oh, it's the will of God, so it's just going to happen. No, you can't do that. We have a part to play in this too. And Elijah knew it. And the Bible says he climbs the mountain. This is important. He gets up there to the top of it. He's going to pray in what he knows God's wanting to do. So he puts his head between his knees. That's important. He puts his head between his knees. I was studying that today, pondering it. Lord, why did he put his head between his knees? And as I began to look into it, I found some interesting things about it. Number one, his posture. You know, even our posture of faith matters. Even our posture. Sometimes you just need to get up off the recliner and change your posture in prayer. Sometimes you just need to, get up from your coffee prayer and turn it into a warfare prayer if you need to. The coffee prayers are good, and I love that. But there's some things in the spirit realm that's going to require more than just what we're used to. So he changed his posture. And in putting his head between his knees, what was he doing? Number one, it's a sign of humility. He is getting into a place where he is acknowledging his utter dependence upon God. It's
quite ironic. Karen Wheaton has no humility. None.
In a position, in a posture that says, I can't bring the rain. I can't do this. But God, you can. And I humble myself before you, God, and I acknowledge I've got to have you.
Straight acting. She's not being sincere at all. You can see right through it. She's an actress, and she is a good actress. I'll give her that. Again, she's a good actress. She's a great communicator. But she's not working for God. That I know. I'm screenshotting that face right there. That's the picture I'm going to post on my next podcast of her.
Sweetheart, let's start there. For those of us believing right now, we're believing for things that only God can do. You are, I am. Many of you, I read your comments. Lately, I've been reading so many comments about believing for your prodigals to come home. You're believing for a daughter. You're believing for a
That's a straight up lie, because as we see, she still has comments turned off. But she's been reading our comments. No, Karen, you obviously don't want anyone commenting. Oh, Bama girl. Yeah, I know where all the places are, and I've done quite a bit of recon up there. I've videoed all the properties, all the church properties, all of her property, a bunch of pictures, and I'm familiar with it all.
son. Honey, let's start this today. Number one, we get the word first. What is God saying? Number two, we're going to humble ourselves before God and say, we can't do it, God, but we are going to call on you. Number two, in that posture, you know what else he was doing? He was getting rid of every distraction. He was in a position that says, I'm not going to look around at the natural. I'm not even going to be listening in the natural realm. I'm going to put myself in a posture that I am utterly focused on what I'm here to do. Number three, he put himself in that posture because actually in ancient times, that was a birthing position for women. So in many ways, it was like he put himself into a position for birthing something into the natural realm that was caught in the heavens. He knew, I've got to bring this. And sweetheart, that's you and me. We're going to put ourselves into a position of faith. Faith comes by hearing. We've heard a word. Now we humble ourselves before God. We focus on what we're believing for. And we put ourselves into a position that we're going to birth and bring into the spirit, into the natural realm, what is in the spirit realm. Then you know the story. The Bible says he starts praying. This is so good. This is so good. And the Bible says, you know what? Can I just read you a little bit of it right here? I've got to hurry my times. I can't believe my time's already getting by. Look at this. The Bible says that he gets up. He says, we're told that he bowed himself to the ground with his face between his knees, shutting out all sight and sound. It says here, then he said to his servant, listen to this, go and take an observation. Now, while he's praying, he turns around and looks at his servant. Hey, go take an observation. The servant went and came back and said one word, nothing. That was the servant's word, nothing.
All right, that's all I can take of her voice right now. We got to take a break. The nerve of her to literally be begging people to bring their children there right now. And then her saying, I mean, I read your comments. I see all your comments. No, you don't. Like that was obviously a straight up lie. Because no, she don't. She's had comments turned off ever since it was reported about her prophet, Samuel Bentley, admitting to abusing children. If you have friends or family that have children, and they've ever gone to the ramp, you need to make sure to speak with them and make sure that they don't ever take their children back there. Like, you literally could not pay me no amount of money for me to send my 11-year-old or 2-year-old to that place. No amount of money. There is no way in hell that would ever happen. And the fact is, there are still some that are going to send their children there, and they have no clue about any of this. And that's why it's so important for us to bring as much awareness to this as possible. I can't tell you how many messages I get almost every single live that I talk about the ramp from people saying, oh my God, I've been there, or I was going there, or sometimes my child goes there. Thank you for making me aware of this, because we're never going back. And I've got tons of those every single time we talk about it. We have to bring a lot more awareness to this. We have to make sure that everyone knows, because they are doing a good job at keeping this under wraps as much as possible. Again, she doesn't mention it at all ever in any of her videos. Nothing about it. She purposely turned the comments off, and that's why, because she wants these followers watching her videos, but she doesn't want them to know the truth. That's the only reason you would turn comments off. Number one, it costs you quite a bit of money if you turn the comments off. You're losing quite a bit of money. Number two, if you have nothing to hide, you're not turning the comments off. The only people that turn the comments off are the ones that have something to hide. We've seen it with Nick Smith, and we've seen it with her. But please share my stuff on the ramp. And not just mine. Rodrigo Burgo, that I had on the podcast, he's got a lot of videos out. Share his stuff. And there's some others too. Please share everyone that's speaking out about them, share their stuff. Repost them, comment on them, share them, tell your friends and your family. We have to bring as much awareness to this as possible. Because you also have to understand, and this is what gets a lot of people that they don't fully understand. Your internet and my internet are completely different. Your social media feeds and mine are completely different. So on your feed, you may be seeing this nonstop. People talking about the ramp, and you may know everything about it from your feed. But your next door neighbor's feed is completely different from yours, and there's a good chance they haven't not seen it at all on their feed. That's how different people's feeds are. Like me and my wife sometimes, because we've gotten this discussion before, and just out of curiosity, we will look at each other's feeds, and it literally feels like a completely different platform. Like when I look at hers, I'm like, this is weird. Like the stuff I see on hers is stuff I'd never see on mine, and vice versa. So just because you're constantly seeing it, don't believe that everybody is. So that's why it's so important for you to share this stuff as much as possible. Because again, there are still a lot of people that don't know about this stuff. I mean, Addison right here, she said, you and one other guy is the only people I've seen talk about them. But again, now on my feed, everybody that talks about them, I see them. And so to me, if I was just looking at that, I would think there's no sense in talking about this. Hell, everybody is. Everybody knows about it. But that's just not the case. So keep that in mind. But tell your friends, your family, everybody you know to come watch our stuff so they can be informed of what's really going on. Because, again, they are doing a good job at keeping this under wraps as much as possible. Yeah, no, TikTok censorship is horrible. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the day that the other platforms are fulfilling my financial responsibilities, then I will be done with that platform for good. I can't wait to that day. But unfortunately, I can't right now. If you're new here, if you're not following me, please follow, hit the follow button or subscribe button, depending on which platform you're on. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure you watch all my stuff. It's very helpful to me. It pushes it out. Watch my stuff all the way through. Like the videos, hit the like button on them, and comment on them. All those pushes them out to the main pages and gets more views, and that helps me out, and it brings awareness to the things we talk about. And I also have a full podcast, and you can find my full podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, under Agent D Baker. So make sure you check those out. And we also have a X account now. So if you're on X, make sure you go follow. It's Agent D Baker on there. That's a slow go on there, but we just got on there. But if you're on there, if you'll go and share my stuff on there as well, that'll help us grow on there too. But I really appreciate all of that and all the support that we get. But as I said, there has to be a lot more awareness brought to this, because if you were to watch her, you would not have a clue anything's going on. Not a clue. Again, I can't even wrap my head around the fact that she has not even mentioned, not even said anything as, hey, pray for the victims. Nothing. It's like it's not happened. And that's more proof right there that this was not what she acted like it was. This was not, oh, this is the first time they heard of the allegations and they went to him and he admitted it, and so they told the police. That's not what happened. She's been told about these allegations for over 20 years. We know that for a fact. My guess is one of these victims was different, and it was one that they knew they couldn't cover up. And so she went to Samuel and she said, "You're going to have to take the fall for this." And that's what happened. I'm telling you, that's what happened. And it will come out eventually, and it'll make sense. I don't know when, but eventually it will. And I also know for a fact quite a few more victims have stepped up and are speaking out now. Not necessarily publicly, but they are. And I think and somebody said it earlier on YouTube or something like it. She knows the end is near. She knows that. You can tell she knows that. Plus, she's liquidating a lot of their stuff. Some of their buildings, she's liquidating stuff. She is going to try to cash out as much as possible before the end comes. I'm telling you, that's what she's doing. And then when the end comes, she's going to run off with her multi-millions she has made, and she's going to leave everybody else in the dust. I promise you, she's not going to take care of anyone else there. She's going to hurt a lot of feelings when that happens. And that's the day that some of them will finally see the real Karen Wheaton. So somebody that I talk to a lot that used to go to the ramp a lot, used to attend there, said she, and we've, I think Rod told us this too, but she used to call them to the altar to bend down like she was talking about a while ago and make sure that we were literally face down, ass up, and their team all in all black would write on our foreheads with Sharpies about what sin we were released from. Or they would hold posters of sins they committed. But she would do that, and we know from Rod's, when he was on my podcast, that she literally, well, and I think Melissa said she was there that night too, when Karen literally made them all come down and kneel down to her at the altar and pledge their allegiance to her. Not to God. To her. Is there somebody in here trying to take up for child predators? I hope that's not the case, but it looks like I don't see the Julie person's comments, of course. I never see the good ones. But I see y'all responding to her. What did this Julie girl say? For those just joining, we're talking about the ramp, which is a cult disguised as a ministry, home based out of Hamilton, Alabama. They also have campuses in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the UK. And they have a very long history of numerous people on staff SAing children. Most notably, the previous second in command CFO, Karen Wheaton, who is the leader and founder, her own son-in-law, who she declared to be a prophet, has now admitted to at least 2 child victims that he SA'd. Thomas, I think that's the least of the worries in this debacle. See, we were just talking about this, and Meg said, wow, I haven't seen anything about this. What is wrong with people? These people were sick. So that's my point. There's a lot more awareness we have to bring to this. There's a lot of people that still haven't heard about this. We have to make everyone aware so everyone stops sending their children to this place and sending her money. Yeah, they do have a jet. I don't know if it's a leased jet, but they do have a jet. Does anyone know if all this mess going on in the other 2 places she has? I'm sure. Because this is systemic. I mean, it's literally almost like she breeds child predators. And we do know for a fact that at least one who was a accused child predator and kicked out of one ministry, she brought him in to hers. I wonder if Lauren is going to stay married to him. I got information from a pretty reliable source that he is no longer that Lauren is no longer living with him. May not be true, but I got it from somebody I would consider pretty reliable. But this woman, she is sick. She is evil. And we know for a fact she's been covering up all this SAing of children for over 20 years now. And she is still making tons of money. People are still giving her money. And unless something's changed in the last week or so, people that I have that still goes, it's on the inside that's feeding me information, hadn't told me any different. There is still, right now, a child predator on staff, still to this day. Let's bring him up. Mr. Stephen Tyler Jordan, who goes by Tyler, but when these allegations came out about him, he changed his Facebook name to Stephen, I guess thinking that would throw people off. But this is him. And I have personally spoken to one of his previous victims. And I know they were telling the truth. And he is still on staff right there. And then we have Bobby Cook. I've personally spoken to, I was going to say two of his victims, but I know at least one of his victims. And he is a big donor. And he has money, and he will invite the students to his house because he knows they're starving, and he will fix these big meals for them. And then usually at the end of the night, he figures out a way to talk at least one of them into staying, one of the young boys, and things have happened. And Karen's been told about him too. Guys. And then we have Mr. Chase Cantrell. Who I always forget this, but I don't know. I can't remember if he was actually on staff there. Well, yeah, he was. He was a pastor, right? He was one of the youth pastors, correct? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, he was on staff. I just don't remember his exact position. And then he gets called at school because he's a teacher. He gets called at school for having these relationships with a student and gets arrested. So are we supposed to believe that, oh, he only did it at school and not at his church, when it was literally accepted to be done at his church? And then Mr. Andrew High, who is thankfully currently in prison for essaying children. Unfortunately, he was put in charge of children in their children camps. This guy was put in charge of the children at their children's camps. I think he taught dance or something, correct? Was at the ramp for quite a while, and then mysteriously was gone. And less than 2 weeks after he moved to another ministry, he was caught essaying a child at that ministry, and they turned him in. And that's why he's in prison. So again, are we supposed to believe all the time he was at the ramp, literally in charge of children, he didn't mess with one of them? He just turned into a child predator right after he left the ramp? No, he was found, he was caught at the ramp, and they ran him off instead of turning him in, which created more victims. When if Karen Wheaton would have done what she is supposed to have done and turned him in, the other victims at the new ministry would not be victims. Yes, we know for a fact Karen Wheaton herself told Dr. Turner, do not let your kids go to camp with Andrew. And she's the one who was putting him in charge of the camps. She knew he was messing with children. And so she told one of her good friends, hey, don't send your kids over there with him. But she didn't say anything to anybody else. So explain to me why you would just let that happen. Why? And we still have somebody come up trying to take up for her. Are you kidding me? How could you possibly take up for her at this point? How much more evidence do you need? You just choose to be blind. Because all you have to do is open up your eyes. And it's all right here in front of you. There's no question about it. You're exactly right, Cynthia. Pedophiles cannot be rehabilitated. That's been proven time and time again. We know that. You can't fix them. There's no fixing. They will, if given the chance, they will absolutely reoffend. Every single one of them does. Anyone saying that what I'm saying is not true, you think I would say this? You think I would make these allegations against people if they weren't true? I would get sued in a second. I don't make allegations like that unless I literally have seen the proof. I'm not dumb. Let me say it again. Steven Tyler Jordan is a child predator. This guy. Don't you think I sound pretty confident? Versus, if that weren't true, he could easily sue me. He's not going to sue me. Bobby Cook is a child predator. Again, you think I would be saying this stuff unless I didn't know for an absolute fact? Oh, no. Number one, it's not something I would want to be wrong about. I would never accuse someone of that unless I absolutely knew for a fact. And not just going off someone's word. Now, this one's an easy one because he's literally in prison for being a child predator. This one was also convicted. Oh, and wait, there's more. Let me bring up the main one. Mr. Prophet himself, Samuel Bentley. We know for a fact he has because he's literally admitted to at least 2 victims. Which, trust me, there's a lot more victims. A lot more. And that's going to come out. That's coming out. This is the man that Karen Wheaton herself declared as a prophet and had preaching over her church for years, knowing that he was a child predator. And he just so happens to be her son-in-law, too. This is an evil piece of shit. And in the end, when all of this is said and done, more than likely you'll find out who most of his victims were. But a few of his victims will really just blow your mind. And again, there's no telling how many victims he truly has. Okay, let's say this. Because Melissa said people do not believe she knew it. That's how she's getting away with this. Same thing I say about Nick Smith. Which, trust me, I know for a fact she did know. Let's say she didn't know. Well, then she's not fit to lead anything. When you've had at least, listen to me, when you've had at least 5 child predators working for you, and you were clueless about all of them, you're not fit to lead anything. So how does that make it better? How does the fact that she literally declared one of these a prophet, how does that make you trust her? Why would you listen to anything she's ever said? Why? And there's probably more than 5. There's just 5 that we absolutely know of. This guy, Samuel Bentley, she declared him as a prophet. I need to put his name up there with him. I didn't spell his last name right. I just noticed that. Hold on, let me fix that. I think that's right. Correct. I've not personally been to one of her churches, no. I don't see this Rosen leaves any of their comments. I see y'all are responding to them, but I don't see their comments. Oh, there we go. Not denying any of this, but for you to claim Karen knew, that's a lie. That is not a lie, and I have full proof of that. In fact, I know for a fact Karen was told literally over 20 years ago of allegations of Samuel Bentley abusing children. Over 20 years ago. The proof that I have showing that she absolutely knew was hush money that she paid to a previous victim way before these allegations came out. It's pretty solid proof. So anyone saying that she didn't know, you're going to feel like an idiot when all this comes out. That proof is there. It's all documented. They paid one of the victims' families. At least one. I've been told they've paid multiple. I can only confirm one. So for anybody saying she didn't know, you just have no clue what you're talking about. I can't show the proof because of victim, to keep the victim, to not call them out. But it's been sent. I have it. But here's another thing I can confidently say and know that Karen Wheaton will not sue me. Karen Wheaton absolutely knew of these allegations way before this. That's a fact. And again, she knows she can't sue me because of that, because she knows it's true. Now, let me be clear about what I'm saying. Let me be clear. I absolutely know, and I have proof that she knew at least 3 years prior to 2026. We'll just leave it at that. Now, I've been told, so I do not have actual proof of this, but I've been told by extremely reliable sources that she was told over 20 years ago about the allegations. So I just want to be clear on that. We also know from an extremely reliable, from a absolute reliable source is what I'll say, that she has already consulted with we'll call him an advisor. Since this all came out, that she has consulted with an advisor specifically asking how much money would this take to go away. That conversation happened, I'm telling you. And that's been within the last month that she asked that question to this advisor. Because again, she's done it before. That's the way she does things. She has the money. And unfortunately, most of the time money can buy off anything. And I'm not, let me also be clear about this. I'm not faulting any victims or families that has taken money from her on this. I'm not, because I will never judge a victim for not speaking out publicly, ever. Because you see how they get treated. You know they're embarrassed, which, yeah, obviously, yes, they shouldn't be, but you got to put yourself in their shoes. You know they're embarrassed. And especially, we saw, if you've not been following this, before Samuel Bentley literally admitted to this, what's it been, like 2 months ago now? At least 2 years ago, at least one victim started speaking out publicly saying, look, this happened to me when I was a child there. And that victim was just, the things that was said about her and to her online was horrible. I mean, she was all out attacked by tons of people. Completely attacked. And called the worst names you could ever be called. And then you have the victim blaming. So those are the reasons I will never judge a victim for not speaking out. I will encourage every victim to speak out, absolutely. But I will never judge someone that doesn't. Because it's hard, and you need to understand that. So, again, I'm not faulting a family or victim or anybody who has accepted money from them before. I don't blame them. I don't. Because if you're sitting there trying to decide, do I want my life pretty much taken over and be known for this and be accused of all this stuff and called all these names and pretty much ran out of my community, or do I want to take $250,000? I don't blame them for taking that. Brianna said I actually have screenshots of that because I was so shocked other women backing him. No, it blows my mind. I mean, look at all the women taking up for Brittany Stapleton and her husband. Brittany Stapleton still has over 100,000 followers on TikTok. And she has over 200 paid members to her page. These are grown women that have, a lot of them have children themselves. Like I do not understand it. And I don't know that I ever will. I don't. But her minions have come after us in every way they possibly can. They've gotten us shut down. I mean, they've got us banned from TikTok 2 or 3 times. I mean, these are loyal followers to her. Knowing that she is out advocating for a man that his indictments are the worst, most sick things I've ever in my life read. I literally will not read them ever again because every time I do, I literally cannot sleep for about 2 nights. And I've seen some bad stuff in my career. I've interviewed some of the most evil people you could ever imagine. I mean, I've heard things come out of people's mouths and seen things that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. But Brittany Stapleton's husband's indictments are the worst I've ever seen. The most disturbing by far I've ever seen. And she still has over 100,000 followers. I will never understand it. And they will come after you for speaking out against her. Do I think Karen Wheaton is aware of how many are bringing attention to this cult? Oh, absolutely. I know her kind. There's a good chance she's watching this right now. No, I guarantee you she is watching every video that's put out. I promise you she is. But again, we still have tons of people that will go to their grave taking up for Karen Wheaton and the ramp. And like I said, it's just like Brittany Stapleton's followers. I think every single one of her followers should be forced to read her husband's indictments. And if they can still follow her after reading that, then they need to be investigated too. And their computers need to be seized and downloaded. But as long as I live, I will never read those indictments again. But again, Brittany Stapleton's husband literally pled guilty. And all the evidence was on his computer. It's clear as day. That's why he pled guilty. He didn't have a choice. So he pled guilty, obviously convicted, and is in prison. And you still have all these people taking up for him. Here, we have Samuel Bentley, who literally has admitted to at least 2 victims. I mean, so no doubt about it. He did it. And then we have Chase Cantrell, who was on staff there, who has been convicted of it. We have Andrew High, who was on staff there, put in charge of children, convicted of child SA and in prison right now. So just take those three, that there is no doubt, like you can't argue that they didn't do it. And there's still people saying Karen Wheaton didn't know. So again, going back to my original point, if she didn't know, she's a horrible leader and is not fit to lead anything. If she did know, she's a horrible leader and not fit to lead anything. There's no way to win that. If you've had that many people working directly under you, doing those things to children, and you had no idea, you're a freaking terrible leader. Just like Nick Smith. If over 30% of your entire agency has now been federally indicted for torturing and killing a man, and you didn't know any of it was going on, you're a freaking horrible leader. But we know in both of these cases, they both knew. We know that. If y'all are talking about Josh Stapleton's indictments, they're out there. You can find them somewhere. I mean, I've got them, but I will never show them again and read them. I can't. I mean, seriously, I will never read those again. And I'm telling, honestly, you don't need to. It will keep you up at night if you read those. If it doesn't, then there's probably something wrong with you. That's a good point, Brianna. Brianna said, I know when the person I spend 40 plus hours a week with is simply having a bad day. Exactly. I would give her 1. If one person on her staff at some point was caught doing this, then yeah, I wouldn't automatically say, oh, there's no way she didn't know. But again, we're talking about at least 5. At least 5. And one of those was literally her second in command, her son-in-law, her CFO. But trust me, she knew. And there's other things that I know that I will not say publicly to protect the victims. But there's other things I could say that would prove to you with absolutely without a doubt she knew before this. All right. I've got an early morning in the morning, so I'm going to run off for the night. Hey, I appreciate each and every one of you for being on here. I mean that. It means a lot to me. I know most of the conversations we have are really sucky things to be talking about, but they need to be talked about, unfortunately. And it's up to us to bring as much awareness to this as possible, because, again, more than likely there are still children actively being harmed at the ramp right now. So we have to spread this information to everybody we possibly can. But I appreciate everybody being on here and all the support. If there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to message me. It may take me a while to get to the message, but at some point I will. And if I can help you, I will. If you have messaged me in the past and I got back with you and I promised to call you or get back with you, and you have not heard back from me, please message me again. It will not aggravate me. Please message me again, because I know there's just so many people I've done that to, and I don't mean to. It just gets so overwhelming, and I get so many messages. Some slip through the cracks, and I apologize for that, but just message me again. And the best thing, honestly, the number one way to know that I definitely will see it and read it is to email me at agentdbaker315@gmail.com. That's agentdbaker315@gmail.com. Just because I get hundreds of messages on the platforms daily. So it's just, but if you email me, I will definitely see it. So try to email. But if you have any information on whether it be any of the cases that I'm currently covering or something you would like to see me cover, then please don't hesitate to send that to me as well. And your name will never, ever be repeated by me to anyone, not law enforcement, no one, ever. I'm very protective of that. Even my team does not see names. I will take the information and pull the information and send them the information that has no identifying information. And even though they are all under NDAs anyway, but it's just because that's what I promise you, that if you send me information, I will never repeat your name and no one else will ever see it. And so that's a promise I stand by. Again, I take that very seriously because I really appreciate all the information people send me. It's one thing that really helps us for sure. And so we depend on that. So please keep that coming. And again, if you're not following me, please hit the follow button. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, please go on there and subscribe. It's Agent D Baker. We're trying to grow that channel, and that would be very helpful. Also, that's one of the places you can catch my full podcast. You can catch my full podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. But I really appreciate if you subscribe to YouTube so we can build that up. But again, subscribe or follow on any of the platforms. And again, we just started. We finally got a X account. So if you're on X, make sure you check us out on there, Agent D Baker. And then we're still working on our website, but at some point when we get finished with it, it's going to take some time, but we will have a full website out and you'll be able to submit all your information on there. It's just going to be a lot more simpler and very user friendly. And we'll have a lot of cool stuff on there too, as far as we're going to have a paid membership site on there too, where I will be doing a lot of extra videos and on self-protection, preparedness, all that stuff that y'all find interesting, and some body language things and statement analysis things and stuff like that. So, but we'll put that out when that gets out. And then also the biggest project we're working on right now is a full course for teachers, parents, law enforcement on how to protect your children from child predators. And it's going to be very, very in-depth. It's not going to just be a few things of information. It's going to be very in-depth, and I think it will be really great. And I think a lot of people need to be educated on that stuff because there's so much to it, and there's so many parents that just don't really fully and it's not their fault. Again, there's not enough education out there on it, and that's why we're doing this. But there's just so much information that parents don't understand of exactly how child predators operate, especially online, the things they do, the way they target your kids. But we're going to teach you how to make your kid a hard target instead of a soft target. And that is the most important project we're working on by far right now. And I'm looking forward to that getting out. But again, I can't put a timeline on it because it'll be out when I think it's good enough. And that's going to be a little bit, but we are actively working on it. And there's going to be some special guest teaching parts of it that will be really cool. It's not just going to be me, but I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll put that out, of course, when that comes out. But other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday night. I will see y'all back Friday night at 9 p.m. Central on either TikTok, Facebook, or YouTube. That's where I'm live on every night, or on the nights I go live anyway. And I think that's it. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes,